Football is back, temperatures are cooling down, and Halloween is just around the corner. All of this can only mean one thing: fall is back in town. It's the most wonderful time of the year for many people, but even if the things I just listed don't get you excited, there's something that we can all appreciate about fall. That is fall foliage. It's the process of leaves on trees, bushes, and shrubs transitioning from a vibrant green to reds, oranges, and yellows over time. And there's a whole lot of science that goes into that. I'm Cano for MyRadar, here to explain all of it to you and also give you the forecast for the 2024 foliage season. Meteorological fall began on September 1st, but this is just one measure of when autumn starts. It's different for people across the United States, and it's measured in different ways. In the northernmost states, some places have already seen leaves start to change color. Just look at my school here at Cornell University. Leaves were already changing by September 1st. However, for many it starts closer to real fall, which is September 21st, or the autumnal equinox. This real fall is more based on astronomy, and it tells where the sun sits directly over the equator, so the days and nights are equal length at that location. This is where our conversation on fall foliage begins. Leaves are green throughout the year because of chlorophyll. It's a pigment that helps leaves with photosynthesis. These chlorophyll act as solar panels that take in sunlight as energy. Carbon dioxide and water are absorbed by the plant through the soil and through the air, and this is converted into glucose and O2 using that same energy that the chlorophyll got from the sun. It's a continuous cycle that occurs in the spring and summer for most plants. However, evergreen trees, for example, keep this going throughout the winter and fall. Now, the green chlorophyll aren't the only pigments in the leaf. There are also red, orange, and yellow pigments called carotene and anthocyanin that absorb different shades of light. Yet photosynthesis is so strong throughout the spring and the summer that these other pigments get overshadowed by chlorophyll, and that's why your leaves are green. We'll talk more about those accessory pigments soon. Now, as fall starts to roll around, a few things happen that make this chlorophyll less prominent. The days get shorter, meaning there's less sunlight. This signals to the tree that winter is coming, and it shuts off water and CO2 supply to those leaves. In addition, the nights get a lot colder. This signals to the tree that winter is here and it's time to shut off sugar production to the leaves. That sugar production gets cut off after just a few nights of cold air. Chlorophyll is a relatively unstable molecule that reacts aggressively to change. Kind of like our moms on Thanksgiving before all the family comes. While that chlorophyll quickly dies off, the more stable molecules like anthocyanin and carotene get their time to shine. Now, different trees show different colors at different times. Sugar maples have bright reddish-orange leaves that are the easiest to spot among the trees when there's foliage. Quaking aspens and ginkgos tend to give a more yellow color, or more carotene that lasts further into the fall. Red maples are extensive and they can give a maroon or even purplish color, and these trees exist from the northeast all the way to southern Florida. Fall foliage is most prominent in October and November across the country, but your exact forecast really depends on the weather. Contrary to popular belief, summer weather does not have a huge effect on fall foliage. General warmth and moisture is of course needed, however, the trees can withstand a lot throughout the summer. It's the first few weeks of the fall that really matters, where you need sunny, dry days and cool, clear nights. This allows for that chlorophyll to stop being produced and the other accessory pigments to start shining. Now, too much wind can knock these leaves off prematurely, or too much rain can cause that chlorophyll to stick around longer than anticipated. Drought has an interesting correlation with fall foliage. A quick, short-term drought might be good for the leaves, making them crisp and vibrant. However, a long-term drought may make them fall off way too prematurely and not really put on a great show. Now that we have the general idea of how the weather affects foliage, it's time to look at the 2024 forecast. However, remember that a big region like the Northeast has a lot of variability. Over the past few weeks, the Northeast has been dominated by ridging and high pressure across the region, giving sunny, clear, and not very humid days. This is because of persistent ridging at the 500 millibar level, which is expected to continue for the next couple of weeks and perhaps even longer. For that reason, expect beautiful fall foliage conditions throughout the first half of October and into the second half. The Midwest is much of the same story. It'll start a bit earlier in areas of the northern Midwest where transient cold shots from Canada are common. However, in more southern areas like Chicago, you'll start to see that peak in the second half of October. The Southeast is tricky because it's expected to remain wet with this unpredictable hurricane season. Areas in the Appalachians, like the Great Smoky Mountains, will start to see a similar schedule to the Northeast. However, all other areas can expect main foliage in the second half of October or into the first half of November. In the Southwest, dry conditions and cooler than average temperatures may promote an early foliage. In northern New Mexico, you will start to see foliage as early as the end of September. However, for most of the region, it'll peak similar to the Southeast in the end of October or into early November. In the Rockies, elevation-related cold will cause foliage to peak by the end of September. However, the general region will see perfect conditions throughout October. And just a fun fact as a reminder, Alaska is already seeing peak foliage. In the Pacific Northwest and West Coast, cooler than average temperatures are being seen despite some of those wildfires going out there. It has been dry, which means that good foliage will occur likely in the month of October. And then once you get into the valleys of California, it'll start to be in the second half of November. You truly see those leaves start to change. Traditionally, the best viewing spots for foliage are the interior Northeast like Vermont, the Great Smoky Mountains in North Carolina, the upper Midwest, and the Rockies of Colorado. All of these spots look to put on a good show this autumn. Stay tuned to MyRadar for updates about the weather that will affect the foliage near you.
Follow MyRadar on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Download MyRadar on iOS, Android, Amazon Alexa, and Windows.